The day began like any other on Earth. People went to work, children went to school, and the sun rose quietly over the cities and towns. But something strange was happening above the clouds. In the sky, satellites moved differently, and strange lights appeared for only a moment before disappearing. Alex Morgan, a young aerospace engineer in Denver, noticed the unusual energy readings on his computer screen. They were small at first, almost easy to ignore, but Alex's gut told him something was wrong. He sat at his desk, tapping on the keyboard, trying to understand the readings. He had worked with satellite data for years, and he knew when the numbers did not make sense. "This is not normal," he muttered to himself. The readings were unlike anything he had seen. The energy was strong and structured, as if someone or something was sending signals directly to Earth. Across the world, similar reports came in. In Tokyo, London, and Rio de Janeiro, scientists noticed that the satellites and space stations were acting strangely. The signals were almost invisible, but the patterns were consistent. It was not just interference, it was deliberate. No one knew what it meant yet, but the feeling of unease spread quickly. By mid-morning, news stations began reporting unusual activity in the sky. People gathered outside, staring upward. Bright shapes moved in the clouds, fast and silent. Military radar stations detected them as well, but the objects did not respond like normal aircraft. They were silent, and they moved in perfect formations, faster than any human plane could fly. In Colorado, Alex joined an emergency call with a team of engineers and scientists. They tried to analyze the data together. The readings suggested that the objects were not natural. They were controlled by intelligent life, and they were coming closer to Earth. The team felt a mix of fear and excitement. Alex, though, could not shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something dangerous. At first, the attacks were subtle. Small disruptions hit major cities. Power grids flickered, satellites went offline, and communication networks had brief outages. It was confusing at first. People thought it was technical problems, storms, or cyber attacks. But the truth became clear when the objects in the sky began firing energy beams. The beams did not destroy entire cities, at least not at first. They hit specific targets like power plants, military bases, and satellite networks. The goal seemed to be control, not total destruction. Governments scrambled to respond, but their systems failed. Planes and ships could not move without guidance, and communication with satellites was lost. In Denver, Alex watched the energy beams strike one of the major power plants. He could see the building shake from his window, and then the lights in the city went out. The streets fell into darkness. Cars stopped moving, and people ran into the night, confused and scared. Alex felt a deep fear, but he also felt a strange determination. He knew that humans could not give up. Meanwhile, in New York City, a former Air Force pilot named Jake Turner was called back to active duty. He had retired a few years earlier, but the situation demanded experience and courage. Jake felt a mix of fear and excitement as he prepared to leave his home. He did not know what awaited him, but he understood one thing clearly: humans had to act or they would lose everything. On the other side of the country, Laura Bennett, a naval analyst, was monitoring the disruptions. She noticed patterns in the alien attacks. They were not random. The aliens seemed to target key points of human technology and infrastructure. It was a test, she realized. They wanted to see how humans would respond under pressure. News of the attacks spread quickly. People everywhere were frightened. Some panicked, thinking the world was ending. Others tried to stay calm and help. Emergency services were overwhelmed. Hospitals were busy, and the police struggled to control traffic and chaos in the streets. Despite the fear, humans began to act. Communities organized themselves to protect people and share resources. Alex decided to leave his apartment and join a group of engineers at a nearby research facility. He knew that understanding the alien technology was the key to survival. On the way, he saw people helping each other, strangers working together to stay safe. There was fear in the air, but also determination. Humans were not ready to surrender. Jake Turner flew in a military helicopter toward one of the damaged cities. He could see the strange shapes in the sky, hovering silently above the streets. He noticed that the aliens did not attack humans directly, but they were making life very difficult. He thought carefully about the best way to respond. Direct attacks seemed dangerous. Humans needed to be smart and creative, not just strong. Meanwhile, Laura Bennett coordinated with other analysts around the world. She used data from satellites that were still functioning and from field reports. She began to notice something important. The aliens relied on predictable patterns. They followed routines and had central points of control. If humans could disrupt those, they could slow the attacks and protect their cities. In a small town in Texas, a teenager named Ryan Cole watched the news on his phone. He loved computers and hacking for fun. Seeing the chaos around him, he felt a strong urge to help. He joined online forums where people shared data about the alien attacks. Together, they began to analyze signals and patterns. They found ways to predict some of the aliens' movements. Even civilians could make a difference. By the end of the first day, the world had changed forever. Humans realized that the aliens were not just machines or animals. They were intelligent, and they were testing humanity. Fear was everywhere, but so was courage. People began to understand that survival depended on creativity, cooperation, and quick thinking. Alex, Jake, and Laura met virtually through a global emergency network. They shared information and ideas. Alex worked on understanding the energy readings and alien technology. Jake focused on tactical movements and defense. Laura coordinated strategies using real-time data. They formed a small team, but they were determined. The aliens, watching from above, seemed surprised. Human responses were not as predictable as they had expected. Instead of surrendering, humans adapted. They helped each other, used technology in new ways, and resisted panic. Even young people and ordinary citizens played a role. The aliens had underestimated the resilience of humans. In the quiet moments between attacks, Alex thought about what had happened. He remembered the mornings when life was simple and predictable. Now everything had changed. But he also felt hope. Humans could think, invent, and adapt. They were not just weak creatures to be controlled. Jake Turner, looking at the glowing skies from his helicopter, felt a strange sense of pride. Humans were scared, but they were acting. Every decision, every small act of courage mattered. He knew the next few days would be critical. The aliens might strike again, and humans had to be ready. Laura Bennett studied the alien patterns late into the night. She realized that understanding their intentions was as important as fighting them. If humans could learn quickly, they could survive and maybe even turn the situation in their favor. By the end of the first night, cities were dark, roads were empty, and the world was tense. Yet in homes, offices, and makeshift command centers, humans worked together. They shared knowledge, created plans, and refused to give up. The ambush had begun, but humanity had already taken its first steps to fight back. Alex, sitting in a small lab with a group of engineers, smiled faintly. "They think we're easy to control," he said quietly. "They don't know us yet." Outside, the lights in the sky continued to move. Strange energy beams flickered across the horizon. The aliens were powerful, but humans were clever. And on this first day, that cleverness began to shine. It was the start of a battle that would test the limits of human courage and ingenuity, a battle that would change the world forever. The next morning, the world woke up to the same strange sky. The lights in the atmosphere had not disappeared. Satellites were still offline, and cities struggled to maintain power. Humans were learning quickly that this was not a normal attack. The aliens were not just destroying, they were observing, testing, and probing. Alex Morgan returned to the lab early. The first night had been long, filled with discussions, calculations, and worry. Now he had a plan. He gathered a small group of engineers and scientists around a table. "We need to understand how they communicate," he said. "If we can figure that out, we can predict their moves." The group worked quietly, analyzing signals from satellites that were still functioning. They noticed patterns in the alien energy beams. The beams did not strike randomly. They targeted places that humans relied on the most: power stations, communication towers, and transport hubs. The aliens wanted control, not destruction. Meanwhile, Jake Turner flew over the city in a military helicopter. The streets were still chaotic. People tried to return to work, but many stayed home, afraid of the strange objects in the sky. Emergency services struggled to help everyone. Jake saw how humans were adapting. Civilians were helping each other, organizing groups to protect neighborhoods. It gave him hope. In Washington, D.C., Laura Bennett coordinated with military leaders and analysts around the world. She realized that humans could not fight the aliens with force alone. The aliens were too powerful, too fast, and too advanced. Instead, humans had to be smart, creative, and unpredictable. She set up a network of civilians, engineers, and students who wanted to help. People like Ryan Cole, a teenager from Texas, and Megan Brooks, a computer science student in Boston, joined the effort. They worked online, analyzing alien signals, tracking movements, and testing small devices. Laura called it the Human Adaptation Network. The aliens watched silently from above. They noticed that humans were doing more than surviving. They were creating solutions, sharing knowledge, and helping each other. For the first time, the aliens seemed confused. Humans were unpredictable. They did not follow a single command. They acted in small, independent groups that learned and adapted quickly. Alex and his team discovered that the aliens used energy signals to communicate with each other. These signals moved at incredible speed, but they followed patterns. Alex suggested building a small device that could listen to the signals and translate them into data humans could understand. "It might be our only chance to stay ahead of them," Alex said. "If we can understand their communication, we can predict what they will do next." Jake Turner focused on strategy. He studied maps of the cities and military bases hit the previous day. He saw that the aliens avoided direct attacks on humans, but they tried to isolate and control critical systems. He realized that if humans could act together, even in small ways, they could disrupt the alien plans. On the streets, civilians began to show bravery in small acts. In one city, a group of volunteers led by Ben Carter helped move people away from a damaged power plant. They used whatever tools they could find to restore temporary electricity. In another town, Olivia Reed organized neighborhood watch groups to protect homes and help injured people. Even without military guidance, humans were beginning to fight back. Alex's team worked day and night. They built devices to pick up alien energy signals, even using old radio equipment and improvised antennas. Ryan Cole and Megan Brooks helped remotely, sending algorithms and codes to make sense of the data. Each small success felt like a victory. By midday, Laura Bennett received reports from different parts of the world. In Asia, Europe, and South America, humans were organizing in similar ways. Communities worked together to protect civilians and collect data on the aliens. The attacks were still dangerous, but humans were no longer passive. They were learning to resist. Alex and Jake met virtually with Laura and the team. They shared discoveries. Alex explained the signal patterns, Jake discussed strategic movements, and Laura showed maps of disrupted areas. Each of them realized that humans had something the aliens did not: creativity. Humans could adapt, invent, and act in unpredictable ways. The aliens tried to maintain control, but human ingenuity grew faster than expected. Civilians converted ordinary machines into tools to counter the attacks. Drones were built to monitor alien movements. Cars were converted into mobile generators. Even students in their dorms created small devices to pick up signals and alert people to danger. In one small lab, Alex finally managed to decode part of the alien signal. It was not complete, but it showed patterns of movement and coordination. "This is it," he said, eyes wide. "If we can predict even a small part of their actions, we can stay ahead of them." Jake Turner tested small countermeasures in the field. He led helicopters and small teams to disrupt alien observations. They avoided direct confrontation, but they blocked energy beams and created interference patterns. The aliens reacted, showing signs of confusion. Humans were learning to fight without facing the full power of the enemy. Meanwhile, Ryan Cole and Megan Brooks created a network to share discoveries with other civilians. They built a simple program that allowed anyone with a phone or computer to help track alien movements. The network grew quickly, showing that even young people could make a difference. The aliens noticed this unexpected resistance. They had assumed humans would panic or surrender. Instead, humans worked together, adapted quickly, and used intelligence and creativity. The attacks became less precise as humans interfered with their plans. In Denver, Alex spoke to his team. "We are not just reacting anymore," he said. "We are preparing. We are learning faster than they expected. If we continue like this, we can change the outcome." Jake Turner agreed. "We need to keep civilians safe, but we also need to learn from them. Every person who adapts, every idea that works makes us stronger." Laura Bennett coordinated attacks on multiple fronts. Instead of using brute force, she directed humans to act in ways that forced the aliens to rethink their strategy. She knew that patience and observation were as important as strength. Humans could not match the aliens in power, but they could outthink them. By the end of the second day, humans had begun to fight back in meaningful ways. They were not defeating the aliens yet, but they were surviving and learning. Communities were stronger, and people were more confident in their ability to act. Alex, Jake, and Laura realized that this was only the beginning. The aliens were testing humanity, but humans were responding with intelligence and courage. The battle had changed from survival to strategy. Humans were beginning to understand that unity, creativity, and adaptation could turn the tide. Even in ordinary homes, people felt the change. Families worked together to protect each other. Neighbors helped strangers. Young people used technology to contribute. The world was still in danger, but for the first time, humans knew they could fight back. The aliens, observing from above, started to hesitate. Their attacks became slower and less accurate. They did not understand human adaptability. They had underestimated the ability of humans to learn and organize. Alex looked at the sky and thought about the future. Humans were not the strongest species, but they were clever and brave. If they kept learning, working together, and using creativity, they could survive. And perhaps they could even win. Jake Turner and Laura Bennett agreed. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for humanity's place in the universe. Humans had already shown that they could act when faced with impossible odds. They were no longer victims. They were participants in a battle that could change everything. By the night of the second day, humans had begun to see small victories. Power grids were partially restored, communication systems were functioning again, and communities had organized defenses. The alien attacks continued, but humans were ready. Alex, Jake, and Laura met again, discussing plans for the next day. They were learning faster than the aliens could predict. Civilians, engineers, students, and soldiers all worked together. The world had become a single organism, fighting for survival. In the quiet moments, Alex thought about what had changed. Humans had discovered their strength, intelligence, cooperation, and courage. Even ordinary people could make a difference. The battle was only beginning, but humanity had already started to win in ways the aliens did not expect. The second day ended with hope. The sky was still full of strange lights, but humans were no longer afraid. They had learned that fear could be turned into action, and that creativity could overcome raw power. The aliens had tested humans, but humans were no longer passive. They were learning, adapting, and preparing to take action that could change everything. By the morning of the third day, humans had learned enough to begin acting with purpose. They were no longer simply responding to alien attacks. They were planning, coordinating, and finding ways to challenge the invaders. The world had begun to move as one, even if governments, civilians, and small groups acted independently. Alex Morgan and his team had worked overnight to refine the devices that could track alien signals. The new system could predict the paths of alien crafts with surprising accuracy. "We know where they are going next," Alex said to Jake Turner and Laura Bennett over a secure video call. "We can set traps and protect key areas before they strike." Jake nodded. "It's time to test our plans in the field. We cannot just wait for them to attack. We need to interfere with their systems and force them into mistakes," Laura agreed. "We have limited time. The aliens will adjust quickly, but if we act fast, we can push them off balance." In several cities around the world, humans began to implement their strategies. In Denver, engineers and volunteers set up decoy communication networks and power signals to confuse the alien energy beams. When the aliens fired, the beams hit the decoys instead of real targets. Small fires broke out, but no major damage occurred. In Texas, Jake Turner led a group of helicopters and armored vehicles to disrupt alien observations. They flew fast and unpredictably, using smoke, mirrors, and interference devices to hide from the aliens. Each successful disruption forced the aliens to slow down, rethink, and waste energy. Meanwhile, civilians like Ben Carter and Olivia Reed converted drones, cars, and small machines into monitoring devices. These devices picked up alien movements and relayed the information back to central command centers. Ordinary people had become an essential part of the resistance. Alex worked on analyzing alien signals constantly. He noticed that the aliens communicated using a structured code. By creating small interference bursts at key moments, humans could confuse the aliens and force them to retreat temporarily. It was dangerous, but the first trials were successful. In Europe, similar actions took place. Volunteers used old radio towers and makeshift antennas to jam alien signals. In Asia, students and engineers used satellite mirrors to redirect energy beams and create temporary shields for critical areas. It was not perfect, but every small success gave humans hope. By midday, Laura Bennett coordinated multiple operations worldwide. She used maps, satellite data, and live reports from volunteers and military units to track alien patterns. "We can anticipate their next moves," she said. "Now we can start taking control of the fight." Jake Turner focused on creating controlled attacks against the alien fleet. Instead of confronting the aliens directly, he instructed teams to interfere with their central command points. They used decoy signals, improvised devices, and fast, unpredictable movements. The aliens struggled to adapt. In Denver, Alex tested a new device that could listen to alien communications and send countersignals. The first attempts were small, but the effects were noticeable. Alien ships hesitated and changed direction. Even minor confusion slowed the attacks and prevented serious damage. The civilians played a crucial role. Ryan Cole and Megan Brooks coordinated online networks that shared live data from cities around the world. People could report alien movements, energy signals, and unusual behavior. The system worked faster than any centralized military command could. In a small town in Brazil, volunteers built simple energy reflectors to redirect alien beams away from key infrastructure. The beams hit empty fields instead of cities, and small explosions created smoke screens that hid human activities. People cheered quietly, proud of their small but important victories. Alex, Jake, and Laura met again virtually. "We are making progress," Alex said. "They are reacting to us, not controlling us anymore," Jake added. "The key is to keep them off balance. They are powerful but predictable in certain ways. Every time we force them to change plans, we gain an advantage." Laura nodded. "And civilians are essential. They are unpredictable. They act in ways the aliens cannot expect. That is why humanity is winning small battles every hour." The aliens were becoming frustrated. Their precision attacks were no longer effective. Beams hit empty zones, signals were intercepted, and movements were constantly disrupted. Humans were learning faster than expected. The aliens did not anticipate intelligence combined with cooperation on a global scale. In Denver, Alex observed the alien fleet through telescopes and monitors. The ships moved in tight formations, but their paths had become erratic. "They are trying to reorganize," he said. "Now is the moment to act more aggressively." Jake led small, mobile teams into areas that had been previously controlled by alien energy zones. They repaired communication lines, restored power to hospitals, and helped civilians reach safety. Each mission was dangerous, but humans were determined. In New York, a team of volunteers built mobile interference units to block alien signals. When the units were activated, several alien ships changed direction, disrupting their planned attacks. Ordinary people had become a critical part of the counterattack. In Asia, engineers used satellite mirrors and improvised lenses to focus sunlight and other energy onto alien energy sensors. The sensors malfunctioned, forcing ships to retreat temporarily. Even minor disruptions had a large effect because the aliens relied on precise coordination. Alex and his team refined their signal disruption devices. They discovered that small, well-timed pulses could confuse multiple alien ships at once. "If we can hit their main control ships simultaneously, we can create chaos," Alex explained. Jake Turner organized multiple teams for a synchronized operation. Drones, helicopters, volunteers, and engineers were all part of the plan. The goal was to disrupt alien communication, protect civilians, and force the aliens into defensive positions. The operation began at sunset. Energy pulses from Alex's devices confused alien signals. Drones created interference in multiple locations. Helicopters and ground units moved quickly, repairing and defending vital infrastructure. The aliens reacted violently, but each action they took was anticipated by human planners. In Denver, Alex watched the displays nervously. The devices worked better than expected. Alien ships hesitated, Energy beams missed their targets, and some ships collided slightly with each other due to confusion. Humans had taken the fight to the aliens for the first time. Jake Turner flew low over a city, coordinating teams on the ground. He saw people working together, civilians helping soldiers, students assisting engineers. Everyone was part of the fight. He realized that the true strength of humanity was not in weapons, but in cooperation and creativity. Laura Bennett coordinated remotely. She monitored energy signals, predicted alien movements, and guided teams to maximize their impact. The aliens were beginning to withdraw from several key areas. The humans had forced them to adjust their strategy. In small towns and cities around the world, people celebrated small victories. Power was restored to hospitals. Communication lines were repaired. Neighborhoods were safer. Even ordinary people could see that their actions mattered. Alex, Jake, and Laura held a virtual meeting at night. "We have pushed them back for now," Alex said. "But they will come again. We need to keep improving, keep learning, and keep fighting." Jake added, "We cannot stop now. Every day counts. Every action counts." "If we continue like this, we can take more control," Laura nodded. "We are showing them that humans cannot be controlled. That is what they did not expect, and it is why we are winning small battles every day." The aliens were visibly confused. Their precise attacks no longer worked. Signals were disrupted. Ships moved erratically. Humans had learned to fight in ways the aliens could not predict. Even with superior technology, the aliens could not handle human creativity and coordination. In Denver, Alex looked at the sky filled with strange ships. He thought about how humans had changed in just 3 days. They had gone from panic to resistance, from fear to strategy. Ordinary people had become essential to survival. Jake Turner realized that humans had discovered their greatest weapon, adaptability. They could not match the aliens in power, but they could outthink them. With each day, humans became more dangerous to the invaders. Laura Bennett reflected on the global response. Humans were learning from every attack. Communities worked together, scientists shared discoveries, students contributed, and civilians became essential participants. Humanity was no longer passive. They were active, intelligent, and brave. By the end of the 3rd day, the aliens had withdrawn temporarily from several regions. Their movements were slower, less coordinated, and cautious. Humans had shown that they could disrupt the invaders and protect themselves. Alex, Jake, and Laura met once more virtually. "This is only the beginning," Alex said, "but we are changing the game." Jake smiled. "We are no longer reacting. We are controlling parts of the fight. The aliens have underestimated us." Laura nodded. "Humans are not just survivors. We are thinkers, doers, and problem solvers. And now we are proving it to the entire universe." The night fell quietly, but humans remained vigilant. They had learned that courage, intelligence, and cooperation could defeat even the most powerful enemy. Ordinary people, engineers, students, and soldiers had become heroes. Alex watched the stars, thinking about the future. Humans were no longer weak, no longer easy to control. They had discovered their strength, unity, creativity, and determination. The aliens had been surprised, but the fight was far from over. The world slept uneasily, but hope burned brightly. Humans had started taking action that would change everything. They had begun to prove that even against a powerful enemy, they could fight, adapt, and win. The 4th day began with the world still tense, but humans were no longer afraid. The alien ships were still in the sky, but their movements were slower and less coordinated. For the first time, humanity felt that the fight was not hopeless. They had learned, adapted, and pushed the invaders back. Alex Morgan sat in his lab, watching multiple monitors filled with alien activity. He noticed the ships hesitated more than before. The signals they sent to each other were disrupted, and their patterns were broken. "They are confused," he said quietly to himself, "and that gives us a chance to act." Jake Turner was in a helicopter over a city that had been recently targeted. Streets were crowded with people helping repair power lines and emergency services. Jake saw volunteers working alongside soldiers. Even children were helping in small ways, bringing water and supplies to teams in need. Humanity had become one force, acting together. Laura Bennett coordinated from a secure operations center. She connected teams across the globe through secure channels. "We can force them into a decision," she said. "If we act now, we can show them that Earth is not easy to control." The plan was simple but risky. Humans would use everything they had learned. signal disruption devices, improvised energy reflectors, drones, and mobile interference units. The goal was not to destroy the aliens, but to force them to retreat and reconsider. Alex's team began setting up interference devices near key alien targets. They calculated timing carefully, using the patterns they had studied for days. "We need to hit multiple ships at once," Alex explained. "If we confuse their central command, they will have to withdraw or make mistakes." In the field, Jake Turner coordinated helicopter teams and mobile units. They moved quickly, using unpredictable paths and improvised devices to block alien sensors. Every team had clear instructions: protect civilians, disrupt alien coordination, and avoid direct confrontation whenever possible. In small towns and cities, volunteers prepared to assist. Ryan Cole and Megan Brooks expanded the online network that tracked alien movements. People everywhere were ready to help. Schools, offices, and homes became part of a global effort. Even ordinary citizens had become warriors in their own way. The aliens, observing from above, began to notice that humans were organized and unpredictable. Their precise attacks no longer worked. Signals were scrambled, energy beams missed targets, and the ships moved erratically. The invaders realized that humans had adapted faster than they expected. Alex activated the first interference device. A low hum filled the lab as energy pulses disrupted nearby alien signals. On the monitors, ships changed direction, collided slightly with each other, and hesitated. It was a small success, but a visible one. Humans had begun to take control. Jake Turner watched as helicopters and drones moved to strategic positions. Smoke, mirrors, and light reflectors confused the alien sensors. The ships were forced to retreat temporarily from areas that humans had secured. It was the first time humans had created a real advantage. In Europe, similar operations were underway. Volunteers and engineers used makeshift devices to block alien communications. They redirected energy beams, created decoy signals, and guided civilians to safety. Every successful action gave humans more confidence. In Asia, teams focused on protecting critical infrastructure. Hospitals, power stations, and communication hubs were secured using improvised technology and coordinated human effort. Even small towns became part of the larger defense network. Humans were learning to act as one without a single command center. Alex, Jake, and Laura met virtually to assess the progress. "They are retreating from several key areas," Laura said. "Their strategy is failing because we are unpredictable and fast." Jake nodded. "We need to maintain pressure, keep disrupting their coordination, and protect civilians. Every mistake we force them to make strengthens us." Alex added, "We have also learned something important. The aliens underestimate human creativity and cooperation. That is our greatest advantage." By midday, the aliens had withdrawn from several regions entirely. Their ships moved more cautiously, and energy attacks became less frequent. Humans had forced them to pause, rethink, and reconsider their approach. In Denver, Alex looked at the sky through his telescope. The alien fleet was still there, but its formation was weak. Ships moved slowly, and their energy beams were no longer precise. Humanity had survived the ambush, adapted to the attacks, and gained a strategic advantage. Jake Turner flew over a city where volunteers repaired damaged roads and bridges. Civilians were working alongside military teams. People cheered as power returned to hospitals and communication lines were restored. The alien attacks were no longer causing panic. Humans were confident. Laura Bennett coordinated globally, ensuring that humans stayed organized and ready. "We have shown them that humans cannot be controlled easily," she said. "Now we need to be ready for the next step." Across the world, civilians continued to play a critical role. Engineers, students, and volunteers worked tirelessly to track alien movements and protect communities. Drones monitored skies, decoy signals disrupted alien sensors, and improvised reflectors redirected energy beams. Humanity had turned into a living defense system. Alex and his team focused on one final challenge: disrupting the alien command network. They had studied the energy signals for days and developed a way to send interference pulses directly to the central control ships. The plan was risky, but it had the potential to force the aliens to withdraw completely. Jake Turner prepared teams for the operation. Helicopters, drones, and mobile units were ready to deploy. Civilians were instructed to maintain communication, protect each other, and assist wherever possible. Humanity had become a single, coordinated organism. The operation began at sunset. Alex activated the interference devices. Pulses of energy traveled into the alien command network. Ships hesitated, some changed course, and others collided slightly. For the first time, humans had disrupted the aliens' central coordination. Jake Turner led helicopter teams through the disrupted zones, guiding civilians to safety and assisting in defense. Drones monitored alien movements, relaying data back to Central Command. Volunteers used energy reflectors to block beams, creating safe zones for cities. The aliens struggled to regain control. Their attacks became slower and less organized. Humans had forced them into defensive positions. Civilians, engineers, students, and soldiers all worked together, showing the aliens that Earth was not easy to dominate. In Denver, Alex watched the final stages of the operation. The alien ships were retreating, slowly leaving areas they had controlled for days. The humans had shown that they could act quickly, adapt, and think creatively. The aliens had underestimated humanity. Jake Turner flew low over a city watching volunteers help civilians evacuate damaged areas. Hospitals were functioning, power grids were stable, and communication lines were secure. Humanity had survived, adapted, and taken the fight to the aliens. Laura Bennett coordinated the final reports. Humans had achieved something remarkable. They had not destroyed the alien fleet, but they had forced it to retreat. They had shown intelligence, courage, and cooperation on a scale the aliens had not expected. Alex looked at the sky one last time that night. The alien ships were still visible in the distance, but they no longer held the same power. Humans had survived the ambush, adapted quickly, and turned fear into action. The world had changed forever. Jake Turner landed his helicopter and watched the city below. People were cheering quietly. Civilians had played as much of a role as soldiers. Humanity had discovered its strength, creativity, courage, and cooperation. Laura Bennett smiled as she monitored the last interference pulses. Humans had proven something important. They could not be controlled easily, and they would not surrender. Even ordinary people had made the difference. Across the globe, people celebrated small victories. Cities restored power, hospitals reopened, and communication networks functioned again. Civilians and military personnel worked side by side, showing the aliens that humanity was not weak. Alex, Jake, and Laura met virtually one final time. "We have shown them that humans are not easy to control," Alex said. Jake Turner added, "We have survived, adapted, and fought back, and we will continue to do so if they return." Laura Bennett nodded. "Humans have learned a powerful lesson. Courage, intelligence, and cooperation are stronger than fear and power. We have changed the game." The night ended quietly, but the world had changed. Humans had survived the ambush, adapted quickly, and begun to push the aliens back. The planet was no longer a place of fear. It had become a symbol of resilience and determination. Alex, Jake, and Laura looked at the sky, knowing that Earth had taken its first real steps to defend itself. The aliens had tested humanity, but humanity had proven that it could act, adapt, and survive. For the first time, humans were not just survivors. They were fighters, thinkers, and heroes. They had faced a powerful enemy and shown that courage, intelligence, and unity could change everything. The alien fleet retreated into the distance, but humanity knew it would return someday. Yet this time, Earth would be ready. Humans had discovered their true strength, and nothing would ever be the same again. The ambush had been a warning, but humans had responded with action, creativity, and courage. They had survived, adapted, and changed the future forever. The world slept that night knowing something remarkable. Humans were no longer passive. They had proven that they could act, fight, and protect their home. The aliens had tested them, but humans had passed the test, and Earth was stronger for it. When aliens ambushed Earth, humans took action that changed everything.